Liz Harris Scrugs. I'm a teacher for Seattle Public Schools, and I work with the Michael J. Owens Foundation and the wonderful coaches they provide. My main instrument is the drums, but I play a lot of different instruments. Today, we're going to talk about reading notes. So far, we've learned how to read rhythms, but we haven't learned how to read pitches. In the musical alphabet, we go from A to G. So we go A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. After G, we start back over at A. When we're reading music, we use what's called a music staff to put the music in. So a music staff has 5 lines and 4 spaces and looks like this. In the music staff, we put something called a clef. And a clef goes at the very beginning, and it shows us what kind of music we're about to read. Whether it's music for instruments that play really high pitches or instruments that play low pitches. So today we're learning how to read in treble clef. And this is what a treble clef looks like. So when you see that at the beginning of your music, you know you're reading in treble clef. So each line and space in our staff has a note that goes along with it. If we start on the second space, I want you to take a look, figure out which one's the second space from the bottom. This one. If we start at the second space and put an A in that space, and then we go up from there, and we go and we put a B on the line above A, and then a C on the space above that, we can go up in alphabetical order all the way up to the top of the staff. If we want to look at notes below A, which means below the second space in our staff, then they're still in alphabetical order, but this time it's reversed. So what note in the alphabet is before A if in the musical alphabet we only go through G? So it would be G. So right below A in our staff would be a G. What note is before G in the musical alphabet? That would be an F. So we can keep going backwards. Before F would be E. Before E would be D. And at this point we're getting below the staff. But the rules still apply. It's still in alphabetical order, or in this case, reverse alphabetical order. So we can go all the way down to C, which is this little note by itself with a line through it. And then starting there, if we want to go up the staff, we can go in alphabetical order, going C, and then D, E, F, G, and now we're back to A, the second space in the staff. So first, we need to know the difference between a space note and a line note. So as we see, there are 5 lines and 4 spaces. And a space note means that it's in between 2 lines and there's no line going through the middle of it. Look right here, this would be a space note. It's on the second space from the bottom. We always count up from the bottom instead of down from the top. So this would be the second space. Here we have our top space, which is the 4th space, because you count from the bottom. Here we have our first space, down on the bottom. So then we have line notes. A line note means that a line is going through the middle of the note. So here we have a line note on the very middle line. Here we have one on the top line. Here's one on the second line. So remember, we count from the bottom going up. So we go 1, 2, that's our second line. So it's important that the very first step is that you understand the difference between a space note and a line note. So if I were to ask you, which is this? Is this a space or a line note? You would say space note, because it's in between 2 lines. If I were to ask you whether this was a space note or a line note, you would say line note, because a line is going right through the note. Now that we know the notes are placed in alphabetical order, going space, line, or reverse alphabetical order if you want to go down the staff, that rule applies below the staff and above the staff. If we know our top line in the staff is an F, because we figured that out alphabetically going up, what note do you think would be above an F, right above it? Because it's above an F, that means you're going to go forward in the alphabet. So after F in the alphabet is G. If we wanted to go even further than that and put a note above G, you would go further in the alphabet, but remember the musical alphabet ends at G. So you would start back over at A, and that would be an A. We should now be able to name all of the notes from all the way down here, which is a C, up to a G, right above the staff. The way we've figured it out so far is by using the alphabet and just going in alphabetical order. But there is an easier way to figure this out. It's a little bit of a shortcut. The shortcut is that the spaces, if you start from the bottom, which remember we always start from the bottom, spell out a word. So take a look, see if you can figure out what word they're spelling. It spells face, F-A-C and E. So that's why it's so important to start at the bottom. So that can be a really simple shortcut for you to remember what the space notes are. You don't have to go alphabetically and start at the A and then go B and then the next one C and then D. Instead, you can just use the word face. There's also a trick for the line notes. Again, we always start at the bottom. This time it's not a word, but it's a phrase. So the phrase I like to use is every good band deserves food. So you see we start at the bottom there, and we go all the way up to the top line. And the first letter of each word in the phrase is the same letter that goes with the line. So, for example, the bottom line is every. What's the first letter of the word every? It's E, and that's our E line. The second word is good. What's the first letter in the word good? G. So that's our G line. And that's how you can tell, going up the lines, what letter it corresponds to. So now we know two different ways to figure out the letter name that goes with each note. You can either go alphabetically, starting on the second space, and go up from there alphabetically, or down from there in reverse alphabetical order. Or we can use our shortcuts, which is the word face for the spaces, and every good band deserves food for the lines. Remember, it is so important that at the beginning, you start from the bottom. So the word face has to start on the bottom space, and the phrase, every good band deserves food, starts on the bottom line. Now, you don't have to use the phrase, every good band deserves food. Some students have heard the phrase, every good boy deserves fudge. My personal favorite is, every girl breathes dragon fire. You can make up your own phrase. It can be anything you want as long as it starts with those letters. E, G, B, D, and F. As long as it starts with those letters, it's fair game. Let's try quizzing you. So, I want you to take a look at the note in the music staff, and the first thing you should think is it a space note or a line note? And once you've figured that out, then if it's a space note, you're going to use face. So in this case, it is a space note. So you're going to use the word face, and you're going to start at the bottom, and you're going to go F, A, C, E. And since it's on the third space, we know it's a C. All right, let's try it again. Take a look at this one. And your first job is to figure out whether it's a line note or a space note. So this one is a line note. It's on the bottom line. So you're going to use our phrase, every good band deserves food. And you're going to start at the bottom with every. So we're done, because the word every starts with E, and we know that that is an E on the bottom line. Some students get confused by the fact that, well, E is the bottom line because it starts every, but the word face ends with E. So E is also the top space. And that can be really confusing for students who think it should just be one or the other. So many of you have probably seen a piano before. And if you were to play a C on a piano, you have a lot of different options to pick from. We have a very low C, we have a middle C, we have a very high C. The same is true in our music clef. We repeat the alphabet after we get to G, which means you're going to see the same note in different places. So the same letter can be in a different space or line, depending on if we've restarted using the musical alphabet. All right, thank you so much for learning with me. Feel free to review this video as many times as you want. It is a building block of music that you're going to play for the rest of your life. So getting really familiar with these strategies to figure out note names is going to benefit you in the long run. Have a good day.